still growling, clutching my leg. My Feng Shui origin story was actually the result of a traumatic paranormal entity attack, which would later lead me to unite my career as an architect with that of the metaphysical world. Anyways, let's get into it. Ooh, the hair is already standing up on my arm. Okay, so the year is 2012, and I'm visiting home from college for Christmas, just shy of turning 21. Now, quickly to set the stage for all the immediate questions coming in, yes, I was sober. Yes, I was wide awake. I mean, there was that part when I got into bed, and this is where the diagnosis for sleep paralysis comes into play, which, listen, critically thinking, how do people across all different cultures all over the world, even with different religions, describe the same things, the same visual things even, without having all seen the same scary movie, or even without having all the same depictions of demons or whatever these things all look like? It just doesn't add up. But if you want to put a label on something that you don't understand because it makes it less scary because you experience it, I will agree to disagree. But it doesn't explain all the scratches on my body the next morning, the ones from under my skin. Lastly, the house was only a decade old at this point. We built it ourselves in the middle of very dense woods in New Hampshire. Now, I know that it was definitely on farmland before all those trees grow in, but obviously with the way colonialism was, there's no way that I can actually prove there wasn't something sacred before that, except for the fact that nothing like this has ever even remotely happened. Maybe like occasional like little silly things like, oh, the piano played for a second, or the radio turned on, but that always felt like past loved ones kind of messing with us or saying hi. The energy was very, very different. Anyways, I was getting ready for bed in an unfamiliar bedroom that my parents had built for me in the basement when I moved out for college. Because our house was built for 2 kids, my brother and I, not a, oops, third one. So I gave my bedroom to her, and I was gonna stay in Boston after college anyway. When I heard my brother come running downstairs from the second floor to tell me something. Down the stairs, around the living room to the basement door, downstairs to me. Josh, what? I forgot. Up the stairs, around the living room, back up the stairs. But then I hear him immediately pivot on the second floor stairs, come running back down. Clearly he remembered, right? Around the living room to the basement stairs. At this point, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna mess with it. I'm gonna pretend that I fell asleep in the 2 seconds that he was gone, like as if. So I quickly jump into bed, just coming down the stairs, and I close my eyes and immediately start fake snoring. Down the rest of the stairs, freezes in the doorway staring. I mean, I can feel him standing in the doorway, but I'm immediately bored with how unresponsive he's being, so I open my eyes right away like, hey, JK. Listen to him. There's this invisible, very strong presence, overused word, I know, but there's nothing else I can describe it with, so if you know, you know, but hopefully you don't. Emanating from the doorway that just rushes at me. And it's growling this low, guttural goosebumps growl this close to my face. I'm paralyzed. The only thing I can think to do is like try to like roll slowly away from it, thinking that maybe at one point I can get around it and try to make an escape. But it almost felt like one of those Harry Potter dementors where like the whole room just felt like completely hopeless. Like I thought to scream, and at the same time my psyche was like, what's the point? That's what it felt like. And at the same time, all the while, in my face. Now things take a turn from the worst, and it removes me from my bed, bringing me down onto the floor with it. It looked and felt like it had almost scooped me up and then lowered me down to the floor with it so that I was semi on its lap. Now I'm on the floor with this thing, still growling, clutching my leg. And it begins, I kid you not, invasively stroking my thigh in a predatory way, while still growling. Now let it be known that at this point in time, my phone was lit up from the response text I got to the one I sent right before I pranked my brother, and my phone was vibrating from that still. The behavior's continuing, I'm distraught, I'm still paralyzed, all the while it's still and like groping me. But all of a sudden, it feels like a vacuum suction sucks the life and energy up out of the room all at once, including this thing, freeing me to finally make a run for it. I grabbed my entire comforter off the bed, looked down to see at my phone because it was still glowing from that text, so that's how fast all of this happened, and I didn't even stop to pick it up. I just booked it up the stairs and didn't go back down. Like literally people had to go down and get my phone the next day for me because I refused. I ran to my brother's room, tears rushing down my face to make sure that he was okay. He remembered, you know, the entire thing coming down, but he had stayed upstairs, continued playing his video game. I think Minecraft had just come out at this point in time. And then for the first time in like 15 years, I crawled into bed with my parents as a full-grown adult. Not even joking, and I don't care. That's how traumatized this entire thing was. Now, as you can imagine, the therapist that I went to about all of this after the fact, of course, gave me the whole sleep paralysis spiel, which I had never even heard of before, and then I had started researching the hell out of it. And also tried to look back at my childhood, right, to see, like, were there any signs of this happening before? And yes, I've always had extremely lucid dreams before, and even some pretty scary ones, but at the end of the day, every single one of them, always, no matter what, you'd wake up and be like, wow, that was a super realistic dream. Like, it lives in a very different place. Now, fast forward like 7 years, I'm way over it at this point, mostly because it never happened again, although I did have like very lucid, scary dreams about it. But again, like I said, like I knew they were dreams, so the whole thing is so weird. Anyways, I got to see a psychic medium for the first time. And of course, this pops into my head and I'm like, oh, I wonder, right? So I bring it up. And what does she do? Flips a single card for it, the devil card. So where's all the feng shui come into this? So fast forward another couple of years, because now I'm kind of into the psychic medium thing, right? I had just moved into a new apartment with my fiance. We had started having the biggest fights of our lives. Like there was a point where I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience and I didn't even know or recognize the words coming out of my mouth. And this medium says, oh yeah, like your house has this crazy gunk of dark energy lingering in it. So at this point, I'm like, oh my God, like game on. Like I remember this, blah, blah, blah. She's like, no. It's nothing to do with anything that's happened from the past, though she also acknowledged that other experience. This was just energy. I don't know what that means. I'm thinking entity, I'm thinking presence, I'm thinking demon. I don't know. Call Buffy. Nope, just energy. So she remote views from right there in her studio into my new house, describes it in vivid detail, zooming around, finds where this thing is hiding, which by the way was in our roommate's room, which is why I would never go in there. So it was like it was hiding from us. Crazy, just great, so crazy. Which explained why she was waking up in the middle of the night in cold sweats having panic attacks too. And then, come to find out, the groundskeeper said that our apartment before we moved in used to be known as like the domestic, like, argument house. And so when the windows were open in the summer, everyone always knew because they could hear the arguments like coming out the windows. So basically, we got all of that left over. That whole analogy, if walls could talk, is very real. All of that seeped into the space and stuck there. This is called predecessor chi in Feng Shui, and this is how I discovered this was even a thing, and it led me down this trajectory. Because very soon after all of this was when I caught an Instagram live with someone who is now my mentor, who I heard the word Feng Shui for the first time from, and all of this just fell into place for me. So that's my origin story.